Unlike today, in the 17th century, witchcraft was considered a serious crime with deadly consequences. In Connecticut alone, at least 40 people were tried as witches, and at least 10 of them were hanged. Most were women. Virginia Woolf is an actress and the owner of Herstory Theater, a theater company that provides education performances about little-known but influential women in history. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, so when we think about witchcraft trials, we, of course, think about Salem, Massachusetts,
of course.
But Connecticut had its own.
Well, and I do blame Arthur Miller for writing The Crucible and therefore putting Salem on the map, but actually the first witch hanged in New England was in Windsor, Connecticut. Her name was Alice Young in 1647. So witchcraft, and what you have to remember is they weren't a bunch of crazies who were accusing women left and right. These are people who came over who truly believed in the devil, and while there might be incidences of greed, envy, revenge, overall, they truly felt they were keeping their community safe.
So basically, what were they accused of doing, and what were they really guilty of?
Many of them, most of them were women, as you said. And women, the word witch comes from Wiccan, which comes from wise one. It was the women who were the healers, the women who were the midwives, the women who were kind of there when things would go wrong. Often women who were beyond childbearing years, they were no longer useful to society. And as women get older, perhaps they get stranger.
Well, wiser, I think, like you say. They're able
and
to,
less afraid of what people say.
They say what they want to say and do whatever they want to do.
They came under, there were men who were accused as well. But really, if they did anything, it was because people did believe in the devil at work and did not understand the science and the nature of things. And so we're always looking to correlate and explain bad things.
So you actually wrote a one-woman play, is that correct?
I did, yes, yeah.
And that's called Panic in Connecticut, Accused Witches Have Their Say.
Exactly.
What led you to write that?
Well, for a number of years, I've been portraying Mary Barnes, who was one of the last people hanged for witchcraft. She was from Farmington, Connecticut, which is where I live.
What was fascinating about her?
Well, the director of the Stanley-Whitman House, our colonial house, had written a play because Lisa Johnson had become fascinated with the history. So once I started portraying Mary Barnes, I became fascinated and thought, there's got to be more stories, and there are. So I did a ton of research to find the stories of the women that would start to finish encapsulate and really give people an idea of the experience and the history.
Why do you think we're so fascinated about this subject?
Well, these kind of scary supernatural things are very au courant. I mean, we've got vampires, you know, all of this stuff, and witches have always come along in that way. The Halloween witches of today, and you can draw direct correlations to the historic facts of the witches, the time the familiars and the witches' teats and the brews, because they were herbalists and
they play so and you see witches everywhere in Halloween especially.
Well, you do see witches everywhere, and for me as an actress, what better characters are there than these women who were accused of witchcraft, and some of them were hanged, and so I had great fun writing
a lot of
this.
material to work with there.
Performing it, yeah.
Now you've got a big event coming up. Tell us about that.
We do. January 25th, 1663 was the date that the last 3 people were hanged for witchcraft in Connecticut. And so January 25th, 2013 would be the 350th anniversary. So we have...
And it's called?
It's called the Farmington Witch Project, an evening of enlightenment. And it's an evening that we're going to have, I will be doing my performance. We'll have some great music, period music, as well as other fun music. We've got a book signing. We're going to have a tarot card reader. We will mostly try to bring people together to understand the history and to understand tolerance that's needed. That one of the reasons these women were accused was they were different. And even though we don't hunt witches like we might have in the 17th century, there's always witch hunts.
So you have an overall message here.
We do.
Of inclusion.
Inclusion, tolerance. We are going to have a Wiccan group do opening ceremonies, and it's going to be at the church that actually Mary Barnes was not a member of. She was declined membership. Lots of really interesting things coming through. On
Just really quickly, so what happened? What ended all of this?
Well, basically, we were on the verge by 1692-93, which was when the Salem witch trials happened. We're on the verge, really, of the Great Awakening and science. Sir Isaac Newton and people beginning to understand that a lot of what they thought was attributed to witchcraft was actually acts of nature, gravity and germs and bacteria and all of that. And people began to doubt that evidence being brought forward was evidence of witchcraft. After 1692, there were only about 5 accusations.
So we became more forward thinking here.
Yeah, well, science just made advances that made people understand what was going on.
Excellent. Just want to tell everybody again that the event is January 25th, 7 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. from at First Church in Farmington.
Yes.
Also, your website is
Herstorytheater.com. Lots of information there.
Excellent. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
Don't go away. There's more Connecticut Style right after this.